And hello everyone, welcome again to the Horrific Talk Spot, our second episode. Hopefully this time with a few less technical difficulties.
Okay.
It's always fun
Yes,
doing these
we'll see
things.
how this one goes.
Yeah. Here, at least, if we get a bit better every time, then we're going in some sort of direction. If we get worse, we'll just give up and be like, nah.
Yeah.
So, we're now officially in spooky season.
There's enough if this fails.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So, for those of you who don't know, I'm Colin. And this one is Cameron.
Oh, sorry, I am not hearing you at all.
No? Oh, great. Input audio. If I turn this up a bit, how's that? No?
You just keep cutting out is all.
Alright, must be, well, it's in here I've got a good connection, so, the pooter tell me it's all good, but obviously
Stupid
not.
interwebs.
Yeah, it's, I don't know, we look, this stuff,
Skype. You gotta love Skype.
yep, this stuff has become part of our lives. It's got to the point now where it's just, we don't live without it, and yet it never works.
Mm-hmm.
Oh well. So anyway, as I was saying, we're now officially in spooky season, getting ready to go for the old Halloween shindigs. Always fun.
Yeah, a little bit of a change this year. It's not being able to actually get together with people, but
Yeah, it's major.
we've got our movies.
Yeah, that's another thing as well. This whole kung flu stuff. There's not can't even go to the cinema anymore. That was one thing when we dive into the first segment, like trying to have to actually find other ways to see movies because there's nothing coming out right now. Everything's on hold, which is pretty shit, to be honest.
Mm. Well, and some of it doesn't that it's being put on hold because I mean, yeah, you got some movies that are going to be better in a packed theater with an audience, but some have been put on hold. It's like nobody gives a fuck. Nobody's going to see that movie anyways. Just put it out on VOD so the audience that wants to see it get paid.
Yeah, that's. I don't know. The companies are making these like they've already spent out the money on these movies. They've paid the actors. They've paid out everything, and then they'd rather just sit on their hands waiting for something to happen next year. It kind of shows the state of Hollywood
Yeah.
and these large corporations now because they can afford to bleed out billions of dollars, and not even blink an eye. And
Yeah.
if we miss one paycheck, we're kind of out in the streets. That's most normal people's existence.
It's like, well, do I start sucking dick now or do I start sucking dick next week?
Yeah, it's like it's not even an option for like party anymore. It's like survival. So you can't even.
Yeah.
No, like for example, like this month we were hoping to talk about Terrifier 2, and sure enough, him comes over the news that they're going to wait not even to the new year. They've actually put it in hold this summer. So it's like a year later that they're just going to sit in this movie, and just let it rot. It's a strange thing.
Yeah, I don't get it with this one. Like, this is the kind of movie that art comes from originally. Like, that's not that kind of shit anybody saw in theaters. That's the kind of shit that on Netflix or found it for like $5 on the dollar bin at Walmart, and you're like, oh fuck, this looks good, and then you watch it with your. They just released it VOD for that reason. Like, this is the kind of movie that you sit around in someone's house and watch with.
Yeah, and that's it. I think it's this obsession that everything has to be. I don't think the media have caught up with the world today. we're definitely seeing the disconnect between what the people at Hollywood, the executives, think should be happening and what's actually happening in the world. And then I think that's why I don't even know, there's just anger because people are being angry for no reason at the moment and just looking for reasons to. But there's definitely an annoyance with entertainment providers and those that consume, because these guys haven't caught up that most people don't want to go to the movie theatre now. I still like it, but at the same time, I can't justify spending $20 on popcorn. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you can have a bucket in your living room for
Yeah. That's why I always get the subscription pail.
yeah. But it's still, and people are sick of that. It's to take your family out is a major investment now, and most folks, especially with the quality of entertainment systems at home, and you don't have to deal with people, you don't have to deal with queues, you don't have to have somebody jostling. You know what I mean? That's always the thing that bugs me when I go anywhere. Always somebody has to go to the bathroom and thump, 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 thump. It kind of breaks you out of it. It's you don't have to deal with that anymore. But the so-called clever people that tell us what we're supposed to enjoy, they know better, and they actually don't know nothing really. It's strange times. But in terms of this show, obviously, the segment when we jump on it, just we're not really going to be able to do new releases every month because effectively there aren't any. So we'll have to, for the next foreseeable future few months, I think it's just going to be what's released on a particular platform. It may not be a new movie, but if it's been newly released, we'll kind of go with that because it's the only way we can do it.
Yeah. Well, and it seems like there's always something new every month, and like with Shudder, like what we're going to get into, they seem to be pumping out content pretty regularly.
Oh yeah,
it was built up before the pandemic, so I'm sure they've got a pretty damn decent stockpile.
Yeah, just the thing is that
we'll
what they release in Shudder isn't going to be a new release, theatrical release. So a new release in Shudder will be maybe from 2015, 2016 onwards. It's not going to be this current year. So as long as people understand that and go with it, then we're all good. We'll do what we must.
Mm-hmm.
So I think with that we shall dive into the first segment. So, released on Shudder was Spiral. It came out this month. Interesting.
It was
it was done pretty hard. That's why it came to my attention. They've been putting it all over the ads, all over the apps, and it was like every other day. I play those doofy games where you match 3 bubbles and stuff, because I'm sad like that. But every time you're trying to get 3 extra prizes and lives, they keep showing you the ad for this movie before it's coming out. And it's like, oh, okay, I guess we'll watch it then. Say we can't watch what we want. Really weird movie.
Yeah, sometimes that shit works out. That's how I found out about American Horror Story.
Mm-hmm. Oh god, there's another thing. I was with that until Freak Show. I was on board with American Horror Story until Freak Show, and then
I love Freak Show.
I don't know, kind of lost me about halfway through.
Roanoke? Roanoke?
Yeah.
Fuck, man, the ending, like,
that's
where it's at. Because I fucking love those style of shows.
I'm just bored with Jessica Lange in it, to be honest. If they wrote her character out, or wrote her out of the show,
that's fair.
I'd be a lot happy, because she's a wooden plank. Every season she plays the old woman battling with her aging and not being sexy anymore. It's like every fucking series she plays exactly the same character. It's like the other cast are making an effort, and she's just and what annoys me is she's put up as the main star of the show, and she's the worst. So that's where they lost me. And then I think I got it as far, let's see, Freak Show, the episode where she was taking the Siamese twins, or sorry, conjoined to be politically correct, to a house to live. When she's selling them the mansion or something, I don't know. I got as far as that. I think that was the end scene, and I just went, "Nah, I don't care." And that's my problem with movies, and it's the same with Spiral. Started it. If you want to get me invested in a movie, make me fucking care about the characters. Because if I don't care about the characters, I don't care what happens to them.
That was hard.
Yeah, it's
yeah, it's like with this. I mean, the like awful character. Like, I don't like him. I want to see him dead. He's just so goddamn annoying.
Malik. Yeah, he's every cliche going. So anyway, the premise of the story is this same-sex couple move into a small town with their daughter, and it's all American apple pie type, you know, friendly, but there's something sinister lurking underneath. That's the premise of the story, but the way it plays out, and this is actually the second. I've noticed now a pattern. Particularly Shudder seems to showcase a lot of these Canadian-made movies. And I watched The Void, and I watched another one, can't remember, but the pattern I noticed is they're Canadian-made, and it's just overacting. It's like they're trying so hard to be American, it actually is painful. It's like Londoners, English people.
Yeah.
English people are desperate to be American, and it's just painful to watch. It's like, and they take every...
Yeah, I don't know why anybody would want to be American.
No, especially when they take every cliche from the 80s. and they try to be it, and you're just like, oh, stop, please just stop. You're embarrassing yourself.
Yeah, no. Oh, that was weird, having this set in the late 90s, but it felt like they were going for an 80s vibe.
Yeah,
it was definitely weird.
They just took me out of it. First of all, cliche, the character Malik, who the whole story centers around, I just didn't like him. There was one brief moment where him and what's the other guy's name? Can't remember. But when dancing with the daughter, it was like a heartfelt family moment, and that was it. But the rest of the time, it's just like, why are these people even together? There's no chemistry.
Yeah. Well, so, like I enjoyed his interactions with the daughter, like early on in the film, even I guess towards the end of the film when he was starting to lose it. But his interactions with his husband just felt, well, I guess partner, because yeah, it was the 90s. It just didn't there. They didn't feel right.
No, it was like staged. It was just, I don't know, and this is the problem with this whole identity politics with today's movies is people are trying to tick boxes, but they're not actually. There's no feeling behind it. And if you want to achieve something, you have to make people invest in your characters, and this is what's not happening here. They're just wooden planks. There's no gel in between them, so if you're I don't think there was a political message in this. I think it's just they're following a trope now, and I don't know.
Well, I mean, there was. It was just showing that there's always a social pariah for each generation. Really,
yeah, it's just people. But once again, if they actually made their characters likable, or have some sort of chemistry between them, so you understand why they're together. You know what I mean? You ever see that couple and you're like, why are you two together? You just don't fit. So that lost me at the start, and then fuck the whole idea of the drama. Like, there's a particular scene in this where the family across the street are doing some sort of weird ritual, and fucking Malik's there with a Polaroid camera. Now, since when do Polaroid cameras come with telescopic
yeah, why
lenses?
the fuck? Yeah, why the fuck are you doing that?
Yeah, no,
like, especially with the flash on.
Yeah, but then if you have the lights on in the room, I get it because you're not going to see the flash. It's going to mask it. But he then flicks
Mhm.
off the light, so he makes it obvious he's there. I mean, if you're standing there with the lights on, that's kind of how it works. You're not going to stand out. But since when do Polaroid cameras come with telescopic flashes when he's looking across? It just makes no sense. If he was using like an SLR
Yeah, well,
camera,
and it's like,
or
well, and then to have the flash, like having the flash in front of a piece of glass, all you're gonna get is that fucking flash on the glass.
yeah, and the window
But that picture
reflected
came
back
out
at you.
crystal clear. It was like, yeah, that's not how it works. Yeah.
Yeah, that stuff like that just takes me out of it. That's basic. Like even if you're not
Mm.
a photographer, if you've done that shot and it doesn't look anything, you know what I mean? It just doesn't make sense. And this is the I don't know. There's almost like a contempt for the audience.
Mm.
It's like we only want stupid people watching this, or do not show any sign of intelligence. But it's supposed to be a psychological thriller, so it's not a slasher
Yeah.
movie. If you want to switch your brain off, you go and watch a slasher movie. But if it's a psychological drama, people are going there to they want to think about the plot, they want to think about what's going on. So if you're all over the place with like basic mechanics of
Yeah, you need to be invested.
yeah, so you need to have I mean, to have some sort of risk or investment, you need to like the characters first of all. There needs to be a chemistry because then there has to be, oh, who's going to die? I hope it's not this person. I hope it's not the teenager. I hope it's not this because if you don't have that, then you just don't care. You're just like, hurry up and fucking die already, would you? You know what I mean? You just
Yeah.
and that's the movie. Kind of when he got kicked out of the house and went
Yes.
to live in a, I switched off. I actually lost like about 3-4 minutes of the movie because my brain just went somewhere else. Because I'm like, what's going on here? That's is it a ghost story? Is it not? You know, they're just throwing so many elements upon elements into this. They're trying to bring a supernatural drama because then he starts seeing visions of this young girl who was one of the previous victims. And you're like, okay, why just this one? If this is happening over and over again, would there not be more? And it was just left. The thread was just left hanging. You know,
Yeah, I didn't understand that.
I just got shoehorned in for a brief second, and then there was no payoff or no explanation. Frick, what else? I when he was starting to investigate what was going on, it started showing the threads. Like when he went and found that book on Rich, or not found, he was snooping through the guy's house, uh, and he found that book on rituals. But we never got to see the book going through it because he never took it with him.
Yeah. Yeah, that was stupid.
So we never got to see what the ritual was.
I did
What
take it. Second time I thought.
did I know he got stopped? Because and that actor's quite famous. I forgot to write down his name. He, the guy with the blonde hair.
Hmm.
He's a long term actor. He's been in
Uh,
absolutely shed loads of stuff.
Marshall, I thought. Hmm.
He was in American Horror Story
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well. Yeah. But he's actually a good actor. He's actually what saved it to me for me because he was kind of being a solid performance while there's just absolute chaos going on around him. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, uh, but yeah, he finds that book with the ritual and he comes in and catches him. So he didn't take it with him. So we never got that scene of going, okay, what the hell's going on here? And then there was no reason to set him up to get him kicked out of the house because that was kind of all over the place. The young boy he's supposed to be, uh, the young man he was supposed to like be having an affair with him. That just came out of nowhere. There was no setup or explaining or why they needed Malik to leave the house or push him away because he wasn't on to anything. You know, as the audience, we weren't getting the payoff
Hmm.
of what he was actually discovering or finding out that couldn't have been found out by anybody, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's right.
Yeah. So like I said, I think that they're a good idea, but I think they tried to make it too complicated. And by making it too complicated, they kind of lost you from the story. And God, that music as well.
That fucking music,
Oh,
that drove me insane. Like, if you're going to use a crescendo as strings, sparingly because it makes it dramatic. Not after, like, they're using that as a bookend for every fucking scene, and it was annoying as shit. After the third time, I the movie, I was like, this is fucking annoying.
yeah, it was like,
Especially because the audio was so quiet, anyways. It was fucking awful.
yeah, because I have my earphones in, and then all of a sudden you're like, ah, fucking just. It's like getting
Yeah.
a bucket of water thrown over you every 2 minutes, with a few ice cubes in it, and you're like, ugh.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually you just switch off, you become numb to it, you're like, okay. Yeah, just, there's so much stuff going on here.
Yeah.
Uh, it was a good premise, but it could have been. I think they tried too hard, and this is what there's another movie which I want to talk about in another episode called The Void. It's another Canadian movie that, once again,
Mm-hmm.
because they're trying so hard, they're actually doing the opposite of what they're trying to achieve. It's a shame.
Yeah.
And then, I suppose, coming up to the end of this here, so I think, because, like I said, there's no payoff, but I think some sort of ritual has to be performed every 10 years so that the whole community can maintain their immortality. Is that what's meant to be going on?
Yeah, that was something that I've been trying to kind of figure that out myself because of course it's only the sun that's, but it's like, is that just sort of the catalyst for the energy to be, shared throughout the collective, or is it from the collective each decade does that and they're just, super super old. So yeah, I was a little confused on
Yeah,
that myself.
because once again, it seems over elaborate. If all, for example, is it just the son that needs to eat the heart, or do they have to take turns? Like there was no
Mm-hmm.
ritual to it to actually explain how the power is.
Mm-hmm. Other than swaying in a
Yeah, but
circle.
that wasn't even during the event. So my question
Mm-hmm.
was, why go to the elaborate? Like, did they entice this family in to the house? Is there a connection with that particular house of them being in the village, or can they just go and get some virgin girl on her 16th birthday? So why go to that extreme? Just go to the black market. It seems like they're all have wealth and well to do. So if that's all that's required is just go and get a 16 and bring her in every 10 years. But
Yeah.
there was no payoff or explanation as to why this needed to happen, what the rules were of the ritual, because once again, with a horror movie, if there's a particular ritual or rite that needs to be performed and you can break that rite, you can escape. There was none of that. And that's what took me out of it because there's no,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, I think the major sign that would have changed everything if you had have actually taken that book on rituals, if you had have read the book, and if the whole family had have realized what they were trapped in, and then tried to escape and either succeeded or failed, that would have brought me into it more. But the movie itself, like, they owned the police. The entire village is basically self-contained because I said it. So they could have
Mm-hmm.
set up the murder easy enough if that's what they were trying to do is make it the family killing, murder suicide sort of thing. They could have set that up anyway. So once again, why go through all this elaborate scheme for a simple payoff? Because when the son eats the heart, he's already killed her. It's done. It's not even done in the ritualistic manner. The rest of the tribe or clan, once again, there's not even an explanation for their connection. Are they
Yeah.
a cult that takes in new initiates? Are they an original family that were cursed? There's nothing, not even a hint of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, once again,
Yeah, like really about the only thing we get is like it looks like the sun or whatever. That's about it.
yeah. All in all, a good idea, but wasn't even remotely well executed. And because it tried to throw so many elements in at once, it just became confusing. And with the characters not being like relatable, even to each other, it you don't have any investment, and you just, like I said, I think I got to the point where they set him up having the affair with the other guy to throw out of the house, and that's where I kind of my brain just went, nah, I'm out. And I think I just watched the rest of the movie, uh, like just deadpan, just basically get to the end. Normally, if it wasn't for this
Mhm.
podcast, I would normally flick. There's been quite a few of
Yeah, that's
these type of movies over the years. The Grudge is a good example of um, the Sarah Michelle Gellar version, where I was so bored watching it that I just flicked through to get
mhm.
to the end bit just so I could get some sort of payoff, because
Yeah.
I was like, I just didn't care. And I knew she was the central character, so everyone else was
Mhm.
just bit part. So I was like, okay, flick, flick, flick. And that's normally what I do with these type of movies, is if they're making me snore along the way that I just don't care what's happening, I'll just skip to the sort of end scene to get the payoff, because I just have better things to do in my time. Waste 40 minutes of exposition that means nothing.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, not a good movie. I just did you enjoy it, or did you find yourself pretty much the same boat I was in?
It was okay. Yeah, I wouldn't watch it again probably. It was all right.
Yeah,
I've definitely seen worse.
yeah,
Definitely
definitely
seen
after.
much,
Yeah,
much worse. I think honestly, after watching Veronica, like I can handle anything.
yeah, I haven't done that yet. I've already heard about it, so I'm like, nah.
You should. You should watch it.
Yeah, I just watched
But
Scare Me there
whew.
before we come on, and uh, like
Gotta love it. That's such a good fucking movie.
yeah, maybe I'll give it a go. But so final thoughts on this is it's just going to be a forgettable movie. Like, good idea, badly executed, but you'll not even remember this in 6 months' time.
Hmm.
Ah, shame really. Oh well. Suppose we shall dive into our next section, which we absolutely love so much, and that's horrific remakes. So I thought I put this out in the web. What we'll do with this every month is I'll put out a poll and basically let the audience or people interested in the podcast pick the movie. So this month we decided, or the audience decided, that we would go for Friday the 13th, the 2009 remake. This was a by the numbers slasher. There's no other, uh, nothing really new with it.
Yeah, that's fairly generic. I don't know, man. Like, say what you will, the opening, like that cold open, was fucking amazing. Like, that's some ballsy filmmaking right there. Like the first 20 minutes of the movie, that's like you're being told that hey, these kids are important. You need to, relate to them. So we get a whole backstory.
Yeah,
And they're just there to start the fucking movie. I thought that was awesome. Like that's one of my favorite parts about this movie.
and this is what I'm talking about. Get you invested in the characters. Get you having hopes and dreams for them, or caring whether or not they're going to make it. And then when they do get butchered a bit, you're like, oh no, what is this?
Yeah.
Just the only thing that got me was the thing that not annoyed me, but was a major plot hole in the first series. If Jason has been alive this whole time, because the first original three Friday the 13th movies, they have him as a living, breathing human being. So why did Pamela Voorhees go on the murderous rampage if her son's still alive? There's, you know what I mean, there's an unanswered question there.
Mm. I mean, it's kind of one of those things. I just don't. Of course, she's gonna go insane because her son could have died. I'd fucking murder people too.
Yeah, but in the
Like why
original
it goes
one,
to that.
in the original one, he did die. That was the whole
Yeah,
premise.
whatever. She was crazy.
Yeah, but it makes you wonder: was
Mm.
there something more with their relationship? Was it okay? Because a, okay, if you'd just been drowned or partially drowned, and you survive it and you go, you're going to go home. So, and this movie does it again. It actually has Jason watching his mother get killed.
Yeah, that was just fucking awesome.
But this is months after, or a year. When was this at? A year? Sorry, a year after the accident. So, according to this movie, and it was left open in the original series, which I thought I might have got this hole plugged. Why the fuck is Jason Voorhees hiding in the woods for a year instead of going home? The first one was left ambiguous.
Maybe that is their.
Do you know what I mean? Because in the first one, it was left ambiguous that was it Pamela Voorhees' death that resurrected Jason? Because it was kind of left that way. You know, there was a supernatural element. So you didn't really know because he obviously came out of the water. So was the act of Pamela's death some sort of...
Yeah, but well, there was never supposed to be a follow up. Like, writer was like, no, that's it. Jason's obviously dead. Why the fuck would there be a sequel? And him popping out of the water at the end of the first film always just written down as a dream sequence.
Yeah. But I've always tried to, because they never explained it in the sequels, which has always been, that's why I'm a Nightmare on Elm Street fan as opposed to Friday the 13th, because at least there's a backstory and explanation with Freddy Krueger and why he is what he is. But with Friday the 13th, this has always been the disconnect with me, which I hoped this remake was going to explain. But they actually managed to make it more confusing, because in this movie they have Jason Voorhees alive and watching his mother get killed.
Mm-hmm.
So it begs the question to me, she's went on this murderous rampage a year after the original Camp Crystal Lake incident where Jason supposedly drowned. But this movie's telling us that he actually didn't drown and was alive and is actually watching the events unfold. So what the fuck is going on? You know, I just... I don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you leave a question like that and you don't give me a payoff, that's something that just bugs me, because I'm like, okay, so was he terrified of his mother? Was he hiding from her? Why didn't he go home? Like, he's supposed to be a normal kid. Yeah, he's disfigured, but he's still a normal child. A normal child after a traumatic event. Because they lived close to the camp, so he knew the area, is what I'm taking from it. And there would have been a search going on, so how did he end up living in the woods for a year and then not ever showing himself, or the fact that his mother came back? It once again, it just leaves a huge plot hole, which I didn't get, which I was hoping this remake was going to explain to me, but it didn't do it. Or is that me just being weird and thinking too much into things?
Kind of. With these movies, you just have to accept it's just that. It's an intro to get you caught up to speed. Like they did that with a lot of the Fridays. Didn't always work, but out of the way so you could just watch a slasher. So I think if you understand the dynamic of these films, like as a whole, go, oh, okay, well, I'm just here to see some blood and death. So, and we got that.
Oh yeah, there was plenty of that. So, like I said, the first 20 minutes, it was excellent introduction. They actually gave us characters we cared about and then wiped them out. And then they brought these group of wooden planks, which you can only describe as walking wooden planks, that you didn't what was going on between, was it Jared Padalecki, the main guy, Trent, who owned the house, and Daniel Panabaker's character, who she was 23 at the time. I love these teenagers who are in their mid-20s. It's just hilarious to me with these movies. And I know why, so you can watch them get naked and get chopped up. I understand why they do it, but still, it's just make them.
It is pretty damn funny.
Yeah, make them young adults or something. Why do they always have to be college kids? That's a weird American thing. I never get my head around. But are they brother and sister, or there's something between them? Because it's like he's trying to order her about. Now he has a girlfriend. So I thought that was a dynamic first of all, that it was his girlfriend. But from the start, he's like really weird towards her. I didn't get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think they ever like that weird dynamic.
Yeah, it was almost like they were brother and sister, but a bit more than brother and sister, or I mean, it was I don't know. It was just those two. Their dynamic took me out of it as well, because I'm like, what the hell's going on here? Are we going to get an explanation? Is there some sort of history? Why are they acting like that? Because usually with these movies, they're all just they're all in having a good time and blah blah. But it started off with something like creepy and sinister between those two to begin with, and it was a really strange thing to throw in. Maybe it was just the way they acted that made them come across that way, but that took me out of the plot.
No, there was just not really much. Yeah, there's not really much between them, like explained. So it was.
Yeah, it was odd. And then, so it starts off, they're going back, and this guy is. He makes me look like a really laid back and chilled person when it comes to OCD. Like, he brings everybody to the house and then spends the entire time freaking out about them being in the house. Don't touch this, don't do that, don't touch it. It's like, what the fuck did you bring them back to the house for? You should have hired a hotel or a cabin. Or had, okay guys, this is the party room. Don't fuck up anything else. And then if they wanted to make that interplay between them, they could have went into somewhere where they were not meant to go. But straight away, they're making him a non-likable character for no reason. And especially, they've showed they can do it right with the first 20 minutes, as you said. The first 5 or 6 characters were fun and you actually were rooting for them. Then they bring a slot on, you're like, hurry up and die already. It was just really strange.
Yeah.
So Jason starts appearing and just chopping everybody to bits. There wasn't really much of a plot after that. It just kind of went by the numbers. The kidnapped and what's his face out of Supernatural playing the brother. That was another weird dynamic as well. Mm-hmm. So he's out putting flyers for his missing sister, and then this dude Trent automatically goes and bees the bro dude type thing for no reason. Of like, you have to be completely sociopathic. Oh shit, you're looking for your sister who's went missing. Like, anybody else would have dialed it back. It's like they're trying too hard to make this guy unlikable, which you don't have to try so hard. You just I didn't get where his character was coming from or what he was about.
Yeah.
So he starts picking a fight with this guy for no reason, trying to be the bro, and then when he goes back to the house, he acts like a complete bitch because people are partying in his house that he invited them to for the weekend to party. And then I was just glad to see him dead, to be honest, because it was just like, fucking just this guy was actually giving me a headache in this movie by the way he's acting, because it was weird. And then when did Jason start kidnapping people? Like that was another thing that took me a listen. When did Jason start holding hostages? That was never his MO.
I didn't understand that part.
Like, I don't know. It was like they were trying to do something different, but where they could have changed things or explained things, they didn't. And then they just have her chained up in a basement for absolutely no reason, which is something that Jason's just meant to be the hulking, unstoppable killing machine, and but he's keeping a hostage
Mm-hmm.
for no reason. I don't know. That was that the director trying to be edgy or different, or trying not to be a by the numbers remake. Nah, I don't know. All in all, I thought it was kind of by the numbers in terms of slasher. If they had maybe just stuck the original formula, or just made it like a sequel but a remake, I don't know. But when they tried to change things, two things that took me out of it was that guy Trent character and the kidnapping a girl. That just didn't make sense for Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
And then that black dude trying to play the race card from the very beginning. It's like, what the fuck, dude? That shit just bores me. You know, it's like, come on. Is that your entire?
It's not needed.
Yeah, it's like, is that the only thing you've got to say for yourself? Like, it was when he was doing the, like getting wasted with the other Asian guy and they're doing jokes. That was funny. That was cool. They were just part of the group. But when he started to do I think he did it about 3 times. Oh, I'm the black dude. It's like, yeah, well, no. So once again, it was just he was another one. I was glad to see, these characters. The second lot, I was just glad to see get chopped up just so they'd stop talking or stop trying to act. That it was a relief to watch them, because oh good, you're not going to be talking anymore. Thank goodness for that.
Mm-hmm.
But all in all, I think it's just going to be another forgettable. In fact, I think most people have forgotten about it already. It's not like at least when Rob Zombie did the remakes of Halloween, he made an effort. But to me, this was, I don't know, they sat around a boardroom and went, okay, what can we change or make different? And then not bother, making it compelling. It didn't do well. I never looked at the box office numbers. Did this do well at the box office? It was back in 2009.
I'm not sure, to be honest. I'm sure it did, because this is the tail end of the early 2000s, where that's all that was out was remakes, and everybody.
Yeah.
I'm sure it did well. Admittedly, I like the movie. It's definitely not the worst of the Friday the 13th. Yeah, I have no idea.
Nah, it's, I think it's just for. It's not even controversial enough to be hated. You know what I mean? To me, it was just bland. Like, it started off really good, and then it just. It's like they used up all their creative juice in the first 20 or so minutes, and then it's like, oh, tired now, okay, let's just get this done and finished.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the fluffers, here's the B actors. The first group have shot their load, so let's bring in the fluffers and just get this done.
Yeah.
That's kind of the way I felt about it. So, all in all, I don't think it's going to go down, and I think it's just going to get forgotten about and just shoved off to the side, and people who want to revisit Friday the 13th just go to the original series, because at least there was some sort of heart, or humour put into those, so you can be invested. But this one's just kind of, fun to watch, but nah. I've already forgotten most of it, and I only watched it a week or two ago.
For me, it's one I revisit fairly frequently, especially with the new box all of the Friday the 13th, including this one and Freddy vs. Jason. That's why I was excited to watch it.
See, and I think having to put the Freddy versus Jason in the Freddy box as well. That's such a great movie. We'll have to do that one sometime. But
I love that one. I don't fuck like that was a lot of fun. It was one of those movies, like I saw it in theaters when it came out, and I was just sort of like, why did I watch? But every time I watch it, I love it more and more.
It's a grower. It's I just remember all the ads. I know we're going off on a tangent, but we're still on Friday the 13th. But do you remember the ads, and they did the weigh-in of Vegas, and they did the interviews, and they really hammed it up?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so basically, they had it as if it was going to be a boxing match. So they did this thing in Las Vegas, and with the being compare, he normally does all the major fights, ladies and gentlemen, and standing in at 320 pounds, 580 movie kills, it's Jason. And actually had them come in and weigh each other and do the whole you know what I mean. Freddy obviously starts trash talking, Jason remains stoic. You have to look that up, honestly. The Freddy versus Jason weigh-in, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
And that's what had me invested in this movie, because you just knew they're taking the piss. This is just going to be a fun movie, and that's why every time I go back, I just remember all that stuff that came out. Just really campy, over the top, and they were just having fun with it. And then when you see Jason and Robert Englund and who was it? Big fella. They're sitting in their chairs doing the interviews, and Jason's talking as well. And they're just going blah 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 blah. Just a lot of fun times. That's, I think, when people enjoyed making movies. I think that's why we'll always go back to the past, because I honestly don't think people enjoy making movies anymore. That's my problem. I think these.
Well, I don't necessarily think it's that. I think it's the fact that the execs don't have anymore, like to let somebody go do their vision. It's like if it doesn't fit in these certain squares, then it's not being done.
Yeah, probably it's. But you know where I'm coming from. You just get this feeling that there's no joy in the creation of the entertainment now. Where Freddy vs. Jason is a perfect example of even all the promo stuff. The actors are getting involved. They're invested in what they do, their franchises, and they know they're having fun with it. And I am just not feeling that today with movies. It's, I don't know. It's a tragedy.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we also looked at once again the Hammer House of Horror series. We decided we're going to do. We did 2 of these movies. 13th Reunion. Basically, the premise is there's this reporter.
A whole lot of shit that wouldn't happen these days.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I love looking back at these, because it's the swinging 60s, and this was freedom of expression and thought and voice. This is before the 60s went bad. This was actually when the 60s were fun, and this is an example of do your shit. This is stuff on TV, just so great. I just wish they could bring some of this into today's movie and get rid of this fucking sanitizing corporate directorship that's sticking a nose in. I don't know, it's weird at the moment. I just wish it would stop and bring some of the fun back into it. But the premise of the story is investigative reporter who she does fluff pieces, and she wants to cut her teeth as a genuine reporter, but she gets sent to this fat camp to discover the secret of people's weight loss. And this is and then she starts finding out something more sinister is going on. Now it starts out, I thought this whole episode was going in a different direction, because it starts off in the funeral home, and the 2 funeral directors are like Mick Cleaver, Mr. Borges, and the other one, just all very matter of fact and prim and proper, and then they're hacking the head of a corpse or something. You don't. Everything's off camera because it's TV, so they don't show violence. But still, the idea is they're doing something with the bodies. Then it's going to this weight loss camp. First scene, an ex-army PTI, and I can harken back to the days when I wore a uniform of, you piece of shit, hurry up, you're not trying hard enough, you're eating too many pies, you're fucking... And this girl just standing there in absolute fucking tears. Oh man, you could not do that today. No. If that was even shown on thing that God, people would lose their shit, but this was just this girl just absolutely broken, destroyed, as he's ripping into her. Now, this is what I thought. I thought that there was a link between the bodies and the weight loss. Because then they talk about the real estate guy, or sorry, the banker, the merchant banker. And they give him a pill. So I thought initially, okay, are they doing something with the bodies to make this weight loss pill? Is that the story?
Yeah.
And that's I think it deliberately led you that way just to mess with you, because that's where I was thinking, okay, is this where they come off with something? Because do you remember back in even back in the old Stan Lee times, comics and stuff, gamma radiation could turn you into Hulk, not just kill all your body. So there was no need to understand science, so you could come off with any crazy stuff. Like, we'll take bile and make it into a weight loss pill. You know what I mean? I thought it was going to go that direction. And then...
Yeah.
Obviously, the guy takes a pill. He has a heart attack. They grab his body. She starts investigating about what's going on. It was weird the way that her fake injury, and she goes to the doctor. That was a bit of a creepy scene where she goes to the doctors. It was like the doctor was sizing her up. I don't know. It was like they were trying to size her up. I don't know whether they were going to use her in an experiment, or he was just trying to be like creepy, kind of sleazy bloke feeling her leg. It was like bit odd. I thought it was going to go that direction for a bit, and then she's in the hospital. She escapes and goes to the... Was it a hospital? Yeah, it was a hospital. It was a private hospital or something. I kind of jumped a bit. I didn't understand what the connection was, why she had to go to the hospital.
I think it was.
Oh, because that's where the morgue was.
Yeah,
That's where...
I don't quite remember.
Yeah, because...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because it starts off in a funeral home with the undertakers. But then it jumps to a hospital. I don't know how they managed to shoehorn a hospital in this whole thing, because then she goes from a hospital to a manor house. And this is where the plot kind of goes completely left field, and I don't know whether it was deliberately meant to be like that. Or
Completely changed.
Or did the LSD kick in by the time they got that part in the script, with it being the 60s and all? But then she ends up in a manor house, and the lord of the manor invites her in, and they're all very casual about it. And then it turns out it's actually like that story Alive. They're all in an airplane, and because they had to survive on cannibalism, they made it into a ritual that they meet every year and have dinner and eat somebody. But it didn't explain why people were going missing throughout the year. I mean, it was kind of... I suppose it was TV back in the day. You didn't really have to explain too much, and because it's episodal, you don't really have to worry about it, because by the end of the episode, you just forget about it. But it laid all the groundwork for body snatching and scientific experiment linked to weight loss. So I thought they were making a weight loss pill from cadavers, but instead they were using the weight loss camp to select their next meal. It was a really Sorry.
As soon as like you get to the end, you realize, oh yeah, that's why they were having that dude eat nothing but potatoes.
Yeah, because they're just fattening them up. But I don't know. Just this is just the '60s, all over the place kind of TV. Who worries about a coherent plot? Just throw it in there, and then yeah, she goes back to the under. So she escapes from the manor and then goes back to the Undertakers instead of going to the police. It was weird. It was like they have these locations. Let's just throw them all in, and uh, I've just remember like I said, I watched these when I was a kid, and when you're a kid, you just kind of watch stuff and you look at the horror bits, and you kind of don't fill in the blanks. But now I'm going back watching over this series, I just realize these plots are just absolutely bonkers. There's definitely drugs involved at the writing process because everyone's just
Mm.
they're all over the show. But yeah, she goes back then to the funeral home, then meets the
Mm-hmm.
PTI, and then he says he's on the flight as well, and then that's it. So it was an odd episode. Sorry that you're cutting up her. Did you enjoy it though?
I'll be honest, like this episode's rough.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, it's these are they're exactly what you expect them to be. They're they're goofy little episodes. They're completely self-contained, so like it's just easy to eat up every second of
yeah, and just
it.
go with the fun. Yeah, I think the way the start
Mm-hmm.
and the end is just so completely different and out there. You're not kind of following along, but yeah, pretty much that's what it was. We also watched Rude Awakening. And that's kind of the next episode in the series. There's only 13 in this. They only made 13, and then that was it. You know, it was kind of a one-off. So I suppose the good thing is that they didn't try and milk it too much and make season after season like they do today. So these can kind of be revisited. But uh, Rude Awakening, this one was. It reminds me of Bedazzled, the original with Dudley Moore and Peter Cook.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's Norman, the estate agent. He just reminds me of Dudley Moore's character, Stanley. Wasn't it Stanley? Who's going through like these scenes. You know what I mean? It's the idea is that he's losing his mind, and it's almost like a premonition of the future. Or something. He keeps getting these phone calls. Uh, Basically, the premise of the story is Norman's he's a real estate agent. He's unhappy in his marriage, or so he thinks, and he gets a phone call about going to visit Lower Moat Manor, which is a stately home. Supposedly the owners died, and the executor of the estate wants to sell off the property, and that's how this all kicks off. He goes to visit the property. What we see is a dumb waiter and the old sort of tube calling device. He speaks in there for a laugh, going hello, and lo and behold, he gets an answer of "You shouldn't have done it, Norman." I was just like, "What the hell is this?"
Mm-hmm.
Here, it really went overboard with the cobwebs. Like I would not like to meet those spiders. Like they really hammed it out. It was like they went to the Dollar Tree, took all of the fake cobwebs that they get out of there and used them. They went really overboard with the manor at the start. Just cobwebs everywhere. It's like, holy shit! Is that what this is going to be? It's going to be a monster spider. But sure enough, he the suits of armor come to life. He starts freaking out. He gets out of the place, and then he wakes up as if from a dream. And then we'll just see the rest of the episode. Just he doesn't know whether it's a dream or reality. The thing that got me though, his assistant Lola. Every time he goes into the office, she's in a completely different outfit and hairstyle and everything. which starts making me think: is there something? Is she the main focus, or is she real? Because the way she just completely changes every time he encounters her,
Yeah, it definitely keeps you wondering.
that makes you go, okay, right, there's something not right here. Is she part of this, or what's going on? But what it turns out, he keeps getting premonitions of, you shouldn't have killed your wife, you shouldn't have killed your wife. And then they try to explain it. First of all, he goes to the manor house, then the manor house disappears. And then he goes back to the manor house, and it turns out that the ghost of the lady lives there. And then it turns out he's got a brain. Like, they really go through the whole mill of every explanation of why he's losing his mind. And you don't know what's what. It's just a whole jumbled mess of, okay, what's actually going on here? Because even when he has the supposed brain tumor operation, he then wakes up again from a dream. And then, I don't know, it just, there was definitely drugs involved with this episode. That's all I can say. There was definitely,
definitely.
They definitely were having a party when they made this, because the writers they're all over the place. It seems, because the first one, The Witching Hour, was actually quite coherent as a story. And then these two episodes are just completely bonkers. Like, you're going from minute to minute and then a completely different plot, and you don't know where you're going. So here's proof, folks, that we're not just...
Well, and I think with this story specifically, it kind of paid off with not knowing where it was going.
Yeah, because it's one of my favorite horror tropes, is that, the sort of reality, sort of madness. It's like, okay, what's real and what's not, and it's just him, just descending into it. But it was weird. He just, when it hits Friday the 13th, because that's what this is all building up to, that you shouldn't have killed your wife on Friday the 13th. But I haven't killed my wife, but it hasn't happened yet. And then when he wakes up in the morning, he just kills her for no reason. Like, and the whole dynamic between him and his wife: I want a divorce. Okay, dear. I'll go make your breakfast. You're like, what? If you kind of drop that on someone, I want a divorce, especially in the 60s. Divorce.
I mean, that's my everyday.
Yeah, but back in the 60s, that was a major taboo. You know what I mean? Back then, you were married for life. That was, it was actually preferred if you just screwed around, rather than if you got married, that was it. You're married for life. There's no go back on it. So the fact that he's throwing that in, and she's just like, yes, dear. And then he's like, but we had this conversation yesterday. No, we didn't. That's where the fun of, right, he's just lost his mind. This is just not going. And then the final scene where he goes into the office, and Lolly is just the demure secretary and nothing sexual about her whatsoever. And he doesn't pick up on this at all. Like, I can understand now that her costume changes and all are his imagination of what he wants her to be. But when he comes in after killing his wife and then sees her that she's completely not what he was imagining or going through, it just seemed a bit weird. And then when he actually tried it on with her, it seemed a bit forced. Yeah, I don't know. And then, oh, you still there? Sorry, folks, we're having a bit of trouble with connection here. It keeps...
I can't hear you at all.
All right.
I've been getting maybe a third of what you've been saying this whole time.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, there's... I think it might be the internet connection here. It's not exactly the greatest. Trying to push out, but... I was just talking about the last scene where he comes into the office.
He gets taken off and then she gets the call?
Yeah. Yeah, the last bit where she's gathering her stuff about to leave, and the necklace is lying there on the table, and then the final bit, she's just like, yoink. I'll have that. I thought that was quite funny.
Yeah, it's I like that because then it's like, it was the whole episode was his psychosis and his fall down the road. And then, she gets the necklace and takes the phone call like, fuck it, I'll go see the manor. And it's like, oh, so now it's going to be her turn.
Yeah. And then just left. These episodes are fun, but as I was saying, we're panning modern movie, but there's still bad writing back. TV is always going to be TV. You're not going to be intellectually stimulated watching TV. TV is a bargain basement of, entertainment. But
see, I'd argue that that's not quite the case. Legends where it's at for me. Like there's a lot more freedom. You can dive into character development a lot more. I mean, definitely with classic time, that's just filler. But nowadays, it's like that's where cinema actually is on the TV.
Yeah, it's a strange. I was about to say it. It's a strange reversal. TV has gotten more involved and clever, where actually movies have got worse. So I'm finding myself, I'd rather watch a season of something where they've taken the time to actually delve in and build characters and give you investment. Where back in the day, we're seeing with TV is just, it's terrible. It's just, we can understand why people always say TV rots your brain, because it is just so disposable. And looking back at these old episodes as compared to something today, you can definitely see the difference where these guys are just throwing it together and just throwing it out there. They're throwing spaghetti at the wall and they're not even thinking of, is there going to be a second season? They just don't care. It's like they've got a season, that's it. And I think maybe because back in the UK, this is a British TV show, there was only 3 channels. Then you got sort of mid-80s, you got Channel 4. Then in the 90s, you got Channel 5. So up until the 90s, before cable TV and satellite TV hit, you only had up to 5 channels. And there wasn't 24-hour TV. So basically at midnight, national anthem played and the TV shut off. So these things had a limited run. So I think their mentality is that they may never see another season of this again. It's like a one-off. So they just didn't care. They got their shot. They were just going to make it and take the money and run. But I think with modern TV is because their streaming services are so there's so many ways now to watch, and there's so much out there that they have to spend the effort to get you hooked. Because if you don't get invested in a season of something by the 3rd episode, they've lost. They're not getting their renewal of the contract. So I think TV has to try harder now than they did back in the day. Because an old sci-fi, do you remember Airwolf?
What?
Airwolf, do you remember the TV series Airwolf? I
don't think I ever watched it.
The super duper helicopter with 3 buttons that did everything. Well, basically, just an example of TV that only ran for like 3 seasons, I think, and that made Jean-Michel Vincent, the main actor in it, that made his entire career. Where today, you have to have like 5 seasons of a show minimum just to make a full career on it. But once those seasons go, you're kind of finished. Where back in the like 60s, 70s, 80s, you just had to have one good season and that was your entire career. That was the power of TV back then, which it doesn't have now. So I think storytelling today in TV is being forced, that it has to try harder to keep people invested, because if they don't, they lose. That's my thoughts on it anyway. No, still not getting me. Oh, no. Cameron's just getting blip, 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 blip. No, oh well. Well, that was fun, that one. Okay, so last time we watched them was The Mummy, uh, made in 1959. Original, Christopher Lee.
Yeah, this was a fun one.
Yeah, Christopher Lee could outact everybody around him, even when he's wrapped in bandages and not speaking. That is how much of a legend. If anybody,
Yeah, I fucking completely forgot it was Christopher Lee.
I watched. I think there's about 3 or 4 of these movies in total. I remember them as a kid, because it all centers around Yvonne Ferrino's character, the high priestess, or sorry, the empress. It all the whole series.
No, she was a high
She
priest.
was gorgeous. Now that's a woman. You know, what I mean, that's like she had it all. She had it all going for her. But that was the whole thing, is that the relationship between these two, and then the subsequent sequels is all about him trying to get her back. But if you ever wonder why Christopher Lee is such a legend, and why even up until his 90s he could still command the screen, this movie is a perfect example. Just how he can take any role and just own it. And Peter Cushing as well. Like, he's supposed to be a young man. Like, he's supposed to be a man in his late teens, early 20s. And he still looks like he's 60. Because it was funny, he's going...
I mean, at this point, he or no, he wasn't 49. What was he? He was like 45 when they were filming this. So yeah, it was a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah, that's where the suspension of disbelief really comes to the max. Like, he's just looking. He's middle aged, and he's acting the part as if he's like a young man in his 20s on his first expedition. It was really funny. One thing they would not get away with today is the brown face. Like, that would cause so much shit today.
Ooh, like all that makeup, that shit's like, yeah. It's like, man, that's one older films is, you know, white people playing Egyptians. It's like, that's not how it works.
And the makeup was so obvious and awful as well. It was just hilarious, you know. But I suppose back in the day, that was that's just the way things were. You know what I mean? And this whole thing about getting rid of history, you need to look back at this and you need to laugh at it, and you need to understand the mentality. This whole, like, people want to take all this stuff and burn it and get rid of it and make it disappear, but how can you have any reference to today if you don't look back in the past and the dynamics of society? And because even then, this question, this was asking an important social question, which was effectively the desecration of Egyptian tombs. But it also came up as well. You know what I mean? It was the Egyptian government that were giving these people licenses to come in and do it. You know what I mean? There was actually a question being asked here, and then the whole point of the revenge and the curse is, you know, you desecrate a tomb, you pay the consequences. So even back then, in the late 50s, there was always social commentary. I think the difference is, though, that this was done quite cleverly. It was done as a discussion and not trying to beat you over the head with a brick and tell everybody you're terrible, bad people. Which I think...
Well, and even when they bring it up, like, there's that moment in the parlor where Peter Cushing's talking to Christopher Lee, and they're having that back and forth discussion. Like, it doesn't feel like a forced message. Like, it just feels like, oh, of course they're going to talk about that.
Yes, and both sides gave their story, and then they left it up for the audience to make up their own mind. You know, and I think we can learn a lot from these movies about how to have conversations, which I think today's generation's forgotten. It's actually how to have an actual
Yeah.
conversation and broach a topic and weigh up the pros and cons, or not even that, but just people's motivations why they do something. It's
Hmm.
it's lost. That's why the ones that are trying to create or make something happen are actually having the opposite effect, and it's all about the delivery. And these movies at the moment are turning people off. Like even we're watching the Hammer House of Horror. They were talking about uh, sexual equality. They were talking about women's rights,
Hmm.
and basically what she said, I want to be a proper reporter. It's like, you know, I'm sick and tired of just being a woman, not being taken serious. It's like, well, as long as people are banned fluff pieces on kittens and knitting patterns, that's going to be your job until people want something different. No, it was actually explained the economics behind why she was doing, but at the same time, when she came with a story, she was given the freedom to go and do it. So I think these topics were tackled a lot better back in the day. You know,
Hmm.
when they were relevant. I don't know what's going on now, but if you if you beat people over the head with a brick, and this whole thing with Egypt and the mummy, you know, it was a major thing. People were, it was because the British Empire. It was 1954 when Queen Elizabeth basically decreed that the British Empire would be dissolved, and that wasn't too long after India gained independence, and then the decision was made to dissolve the empire and create the Commonwealth instead. So this was going on during that time, this shift and change, and then the question was brought in society about British imperialism and were they doing the right thing, going and taking stuff to go and stick in museums, and then the argument was, well, actually, the government of that country is inviting us in to do it because it's bringing wealth, and also the pieces are being displayed, not actually just being. It's not as if they're taking the sarcophagi or the materials and melting down the gold and chucking the stuff away. You know what I mean? The stuff was being brought back to the museum, being displayed. That was the argument against it. So you're seeing both sides give, and it was a pretty contentious topic back in the day about how does a culture dies if you forget its history. So there was a thing of preserving history, or how do you learn about a culture if you don't learn about its history, or how do you learn about other cultures if you don't see aspects of their life? You know, that was the whole argument back and forward, and it was getting tackled in this. But yeah, this movie, it was fun. It was enjoyable for back in the day. There wasn't much in the way of special effects, but still, even the way they did the traps in the tomb was very clever. You know what I mean?
Hmm. I mean, this is just classic
Yeah.
Hammer horror.
No,
It was great.
really enjoyed it. It's worth, and also hopefully, if I can find the sequels, because I think there was at least two sequels to the Mummy. There was the Mummy's Return and the Mummy's Revenge, if I can remember rightly, with Christopher Lee as well. But it was all focusing on Yvonne's character, him busy, cause he's awoken, and he thinks he sees his long lost love. He relentlessly pursues her over the next two movies. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. I used to watch these on a Saturday night. It was Channel 4. It was just Saturday night. These movies come on, all the classics, and I used to love them. And I hope you learn to love them too. And Cameron just got blip 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 blip. There's the crazy man talking again. Blip blip blip.
That's fucking stupid thing is that's what I end up hearing perfectly is when you're saying that.
It's like
It's like it'll be nothing, dead silence, and then oh,
it's like
Cameron can't hear me again.
it's
Like
like
I
when you're
heard
drinking with
that.
me. That's all you hear from me after a while. Blip 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 blip. When I'm staggering around trying to pat your dogs, going burp, 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 burp. It's like, oh fuck. Go to bed, Colin. Well, folks, I think we'll wrap it up there for today. I hope that was enjoyable. Sorry once again for the technical difficulties. It's just I haven't got great internet where I am. I'm moving house tomorrow, so hopefully get speedier broadband in, and this might clear up a lot of the issues that we're having. Just finally, I want to say a massive thank you to October's authors, Christina Hogue, Garrett Ray Riggs, Kristen Hutchison, Kira Adams, and this Friday's episode is going to be featuring Monica Shah. So keep in tune for those. Please like and subscribe. Share these episodes. Go onto the Horrific Tales segment. Show our authors some love, who are very kindly giving us, letting us showcase their material. Support their works as well. And if you can, if they've got a book out or something published, please go on there, give them, show them a bit of support, help them grow. And hopefully as we grow as well, we can help them further. Last thing just to say is, remember folks, keep it creepy, keep it horrific.